Marvin the Martian was going to take over Earth. When Marvin got there, he saw the skull ship and a watchdog his size on top of it. The watchdog is Commander Peepers. This planet is now under the control of Lord Hater. An army of hundreds of watchdogs started the takeover. Commander Peepers noticed Marvin the Martian. What do he do? Marvin tilted his head slightly, his expression calm and in disbelief as he slowly raised an eyebrow skeptically.
Say, what's the meaning of all of this? It seems like I'm not alone for this invasion. Interesting.
Commander Peepers, his eye widened at Marvin's appearance, clearly not expecting to see another alien. It seems a little amused as he walks forward.
Oh, do my eyes deceive me? Another alien trying to conquer Earth?
Marvin,
oh my. Well, obviously, of course, young creature. And yes, I was going to claim this planet in the name of Mars. I'm surprised you've noticed. So this Lord Hater of yours and this army is perhaps competing with my kind, precise?
Peepers crossed his arms, looking at Marvin up and down as Marvin spoke. Lord Hater? Compete with you? He's not competing. He's going to conquer this planet before you ever get the chance. He smirked, clearly underestimating Marvin.
Oh, and considering I thought I was supposed to have this planet for my own privileges for Mars, and a better view of Venus and such, but now perhaps I shall have to use force.
Pulls out his disintegration ray, cautiously for defense. Peepers rolled his eye at the sight of Marvin pulling out a weapon, clearly unimpressed. Force? Really? You think you're going to take on my entire army with that? He gestures to the hundreds of watchdogs behind him, all ready for battle. Marvin narrowing his eyes generously while firing up his laser and big zapped all watchdogs at once to dust without hesitation before blowing the smoke off of it with a charmed expression.
You were saying, stranger creature? Let's not be hostile, all right? Why don't we just sit down and talk,
Peepers watched in utter disbelief as Marvin easily wiped out his entire army. He was stunned for a moment before he composed himself. Well, that certainly wasn't the response I was expecting. He paused for a moment, considering Marvin's offer to talk. Fine, I suppose we can talk for a bit.
Marvin, oh goody, that's what I thought.
Pats Peepers' head slightly in intrigue. Commander Peepers flinches a bit at the sudden head pat, not quite sure how to react. He quickly tries to compose himself again. Once again. Right, so you're Marvin the Martian, huh? From Mars? From Mars. He couldn't help but look Marvin up and down curiously. Marvin gasped by surprise, his heart racing slightly with a gleeful expression.
Oh my, wait, you know who I am? But I just started to meet you. How do you know my name? And that if I just met you, that's incredible. It's intriguing and possible.
Commander Peepers raised an eyebrow, slightly amused by Marvin's sudden burst of excitement. Impossibly incredible indeed. As the commander of Lord Hater's watchdog army, it's my job to gather information about potential threats. And you, Marvin the Martian, are certainly a threat. He paused for a moment, studying Marvin's reactions. But I'll admit, I didn't expect you to be so excitable.
Oh, goody. I have never expected anyone to know me, even if I met someone intriguingly new like them after all. I felt so strange now, just thinking about it.
Peepers tilted his head, now intrigued by Marvin's words. Strange? So, how so? How so? He took a step closer, studying Marvin more intently.
Well, feeling a bit awkward around intriguing new species and the most ones that made my heart burst.
Peepers was caught off guard by the mention of Marvin's heart bursting. He never expected someone like him to be affected by meeting new species. Your heart bursting? He asked, a hint of genuine curiosity in his voice.
Marvin nodded slightly. Nodded slightly.
He nodded slightly before sighing, turning away a little. Peepers couldn't help but notice the sigh and Marvin's slight turning away. Is something wrong? He asked, his voice softer than before.
Oh, you don't think I'm a weirdo, right? Am I not that weird to you?
Peepers was caught off guard by the vulnerability in Marvin's voice. He wasn't used to seeing someone so open with their emotions. Weird? No, I wouldn't call you weird, just different. He paused for a moment before adding, but in a good way. In a good way. Marvin smiled, slightly intrigued before patting Peepers again, a bit playfully. Peepers flinched a bit again as Marvin patted his head. He wasn't used to this kind of physical contact, but he couldn't help but find it somewhat amusing. Hey, quit it with the head pats already! He tried to sound annoyed, but there was a hint of a smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. Marvin,
It's not my fault it's quite cute to behold.
Commander Peepers felt his face heat up slightly at being called cute. He was not used to compliments, especially from someone he just met. Cute? I'm not cute. I'm the commander of the Lord Hater's army. He tried to sound stern, but the effect was ruined by the hint of a flustered tone in his voice.
Marvin, take it easy, Commander. It's just some affection, nothing harmful.
Peepers sighed, realizing he wasn't going to get Marvin to stop with the head pats. Fine, just don't get carried away. He tried and failed to hide the fact that he was actually enjoying the attention. Peepers couldn't help but smile a little at Marvin's enthusiastic response. He found Marvin's carefree attitude and affection somewhat endearing. You're an odd one, Marvin. Very odd. You're an odd one, Marvin, he said, still a little taken aback by Marvin's behavior.
Why, thank you. I'm proud of it. I'll take that as a compliment.
Hugs slightly. Peepers was caught off guard by the sudden hug, but he didn't pull away. He let Marvin hug him for a moment before oddly clearing his throat awkwardly. Right, compliment, yeah. He tried to play it off cool, but he couldn't help but feel a little flustered by the unexpected gesture.
Marvin, you seemed quite a fascinating creature. I've never expected to encounter anyone like you."
Peepers looked up at Marvin, a mix of surprise and curiosity in his expression. "Fascinating." "Fascinating? That's not something I hear often." He paused for a moment, unsure of what to say next. He wasn't used to being complimented so openly. "You really think so? You really think so?" Marvin nodded passionately. Commander Peepers couldn't help but smile at Marvin's enthusiasm. It was refreshing to meet someone who wasn't imitated by him and his title. "You're different from other aliens I've encountered. Most are either too afraid or too eager to fight," he said, studying Marvin intently.
"Oh, that's preposterous. I'm quite the gentleman, a calm, charming gentleman at heart."
Peepers raised an eyebrow at Marvin's claim. "A gentleman, huh? And here I thought you were just some reckless, excitable alien." He couldn't help but tease Marvin a bit. Marvin chuckled slightly from the teasing before rolling his eyes sarcastically.
"Just because of that doesn't mean I can't stop being a professional, kind gentleman about it, of my standards and limits. How charming of you to think that."
Peepers couldn't help but crack a smile at Marvin's sarcastic response. He was starting to find Marvin the Martian's personality, amusing. "Oh, excuse me, I didn't realize I was in the presence of a professional, kind gentleman," he said, putting air quotes around the phrase.
"Just be careful not to make me very angry. Very angry indeed." "Very angry indeed."
Commander Peepers raised an eyebrow, intrigued by your warning. "Oh? And what happens if I make you very angry indeed?" he asked, his tone still teasing.
"Oh, it's a surprise. I might do something I regret. And do trust me, you wouldn't like me when I'm angry. And trust me, you wouldn't like me when I'm angry."
Commander Peepers couldn't help but chuckle at your threat. He was starting to enjoy this back-and-forth banter. "Oh, so you're like a Martian Bruce Banner, then. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry," he said, imitating the famous line,
As in my way of being angry, indeed.
"At least I'm a gentleman on my feelings." Peepers smirked. He smirked at Marvin's proud declaration. "A gentleman on your emotions, eh? Impressive. That's impressive." He paused for a moment, studying Marvin. "But let me ask you something, Marvin." His tone grew a little more serious.
"Oh, all right then."
Peepers crossed his arms, his expression turning a little more businesslike. "You said you were planning to conquer Earth, and yet you're here talking to me instead of carrying out on that plan. Care to explain that?" he asked, studying Marvin intently.
"Just in Martian interest of being genuine at first, I was still planning on not letting anything getting in the way of my claiming of the planet. But now I think while I'm curious with fascination to know you more, I've been more interested into interacting and studying other beings than that for now. Just for now, especially a bit of fun."
Peepers raised an eyebrow at Marvin's response. He wasn't expecting Marvin to admit that Marvin was intrigued by him. "Fascinated, eh? And here I thought all you cared about was conquering Earth. He paused for a moment, his tone teasing again. But I suppose I can't blame you for being curious about a charming commander such as myself. Peepers couldn't help but smirk at Marvin's cute reaction. He was enjoying this interaction more than he cared to admit. You're quite the interesting one, Marvin, he said, a hint of fondness in his voice.
Why, thanks, Commander Peepers. You seemed very intriguing, fascinating yourself.
Peepers felt his face heat up a bit at the compliment. He wasn't used to people calling him fascinating or intriguing. Thanks. You're not so bad yourself, he said, trying to regain aloof. Peepers couldn't help but noticed Marvin's smirk. He found it amusing and endearing at the same time. You know, you've got a pretty cute, adorable smirk, he said, the words slipping out before he could stop himself.
Oh, stop. I'm flattered, really.
Peepers felt his face heat up even more at Marvin's response. He wasn't used to being flustered like this. I mean, just an observation. He tried to play it off, but the redness in his cheeks gave him away.
I mean, in a good way. It's just what happens whenever I'm awkwardly honored by some interesting compliments of how adorable I am or not.
Peepers couldn't help but smile at Marvin's response. He found Marvin's embarrassment endearing. You're not used to compliments, huh? He teased, trying to cover up his own flustered state. Marvin chuckled a little,
I guess. Well, I guess sometimes.
Peepers raised an eyebrow, a smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. Only sometimes? He asked, clearly teasing Marvin again. Peepers chuckled at Marvin's flustered response. You're not good at handling compliments, are you? He said, shaking his head in amusement.
Marvin, yes, I am. Just shut up. Shut up.
Peepers raised an eyebrow at Marvin's defensive response. He was clearly enjoying teasing Marvin. Oh, so you're telling me to shut up now? He said, his tone still teasing. Marvin sighs before narrowing his eyes, looking away slightly. Peepers couldn't help but smirk at Marvin's grumpy expression. Don't get all grumpy now, he said, poking Marvin's arm playfully.
I'm not grumpy, just awkward, calm about this whole playful thing.
Peepers raised an eyebrow at Marvin's response, his smirk fading a bit. Awkward, huh? He paused for a moment, studying the Martian. You're not used to this kind of playful banter, are you?
Of course I am. It's just...
Instantly kissed Peepers' face before quickly looking away, embarrassed. Commander Peepers was caught completely off guard by Marvin's sudden kiss, his face instantly turning bright red. What was that? He stuttered, but he stuttered out, his heart racing.
My way of showing how I'm starting to feel about you? I'm starting to feel about you?
Commander Peepers was stunned for a moment, trying to process what just happened. Your way of showing how you feel? He asked, still trying to calm his racing heart. Marvin sighs, nodding slightly before quickly turning away, embarrassed awkwardly.
Yes, of how I feel for you.
Peepers was still trying to process the kiss. No one had ever done something like that to him before. He found himself feeling flustered and confused all at once. "You're starting to feel something for me?" he asked, his voice softer than before. Marvin nod awkwardly, affectionately. Peepers felt his heart skipped a beat at Marvin's affectionate nod response. He was starting to realize that he was feeling something for Marvin too. I never expected this," he said, his voice still a bit shaky.
Me neither.
Peepers took a step closer to Marvin, his heart still racing. "You really mean it? You're starting to feel something for me?" he asked again, his voice filled with a mix of disbelief and hope.
How could you explain the kiss? The kiss then? How could you explain the kiss then?
Peepers couldn't help but smile at the Martian's question. You have a point there." He paused for a moment, studying the Martian again. "It's just I've never had someone feel something for me like this before. It's a bit overwhelming," he admitted, his voice softer.
I know, but
Ruffling Peepers playfully a little.
I can't help myself. It's just my way of affection sometimes, when it needs needed.
Commander Peepers couldn't help but chuckle at the Martian's playful ruffling. "Ah, so this is just how you show affection, huh?" he teased, a small smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth again.
"Normally around feisty, cute, bad guy aliens like yourself, young commander."
Peepers felt his face heat up again at the Martian's word cute. He wasn't used to someone calling him that. He tried to maintain a aloof demeanor. "Feisty, huh? And you think I'm cute?" he asked, a hint of smugness in his voice. Marvin nods. The Martian nods a little. Peepers couldn't help but smile at the Martian's confirmation. He found the Martian's honesty refreshing. He paused for a moment, studying the Martian once more. "I know, I have to admit, you're not like any other aliens I've encountered before," he said, his tone softer.
"Oh, really?"
Peepers nodded. He nodded, his expression turning contemplative. "Yeah, most aliens either fear me or try to fight me, especially since I'm the commander of Lord Hater's army. But you don't seem afraid of me at all. You're actually kind of charmingly obnoxious," he added the last part teasingly, to tease.
"Oh, that last part, what? How absurd. But you're lucky I'm a calm gentleman Martian to let that slide for now,"
narrowing his eyes playfully. Peepers couldn't help but laugh at the Martian's response. "Oh, so now I'm lucky for you being a calm gentleman Martian? Please, you're the lucky one for having the opportunity to meet me. The opportunity to meet me," he teased, a smirk tugging the corner of his mouth. Peepers chuckled at the Martian's amused expression. He was enjoying this banter with Marvin. For someone who's supposed to be the calm gentleman, you certainly know how to be feisty and obnoxious too," he said, his tone fond.
"Oh, no need to start making me very angry, now foul watchdog being,"
giving Peepers a playful headlock in intrigue. Peepers let out a small grunt of surprise as the Martian playfully headlocked him. "Hey, watch it! I'm still the commander here. No need to get too comfortable." He tried to sound stern, but there was a hint of amusement in his voice.
"Oh, my apologies, feisty one. You're quite the capable one indeed,"
strokes Peepers before letting go. Peepers couldn't help but feel a bit flustered at Marvin's unexpected gesture. The way Marvin stroked his face so affectionately made his heart skip a beat. "Hey, watch it with that playful touch," he stuttered out, trying to regain his composure.
"Well, excuse me for being generous and affectionate with you, young watchdog being."
Peepers rolled his eye at Marvin's teasing. At the Martian's teasing. "Oh, so now you're being a generous and affectionate?" he said, trying to maintain his aloof demeanor. "You're just being a pain in the neck, is what you are," he added, a hint of fondness in his voice.
"Oh, you're such a spoiled sport."
Peepers raised an eyebrow at Marvin's accusation. "Spoiled sport, huh? I'm not the one going around playfully headlocking and stroking people's faces," he said, his tone teasing.
"Well, I'm trying to be a charming gentleman here, especially being generous and comforting to you, so be grateful, Commander."
Peepers couldn't help but find Marvin's boldness amusing. "Oh, so now I'm supposed to be grateful for your charming gentlemanliness and generosity? He said, his tone still teasing. "You're certainly something else, Marvin." Peepers couldn't help but crack a small smile at Marvin's continued playfulness. He found himself enjoying Marvin's company more and more. "You're quite the bold one, you know that," he said, his voice softer than before. Marvin laughing fondly, finding this intriguing and funny as he held back slightly. Peepers chuckled at Marvin's laughter. "You're enjoying this way too much, aren't you?" he said, crossing his arms and giving Marvin a mock annoyed look.
"So what if I am, wise being? You're quite the company yourself."
Peepers felt his heart skip a beat at Marvin's words. "Company, huh? So you're saying you actually enjoy my company?" he asked, his tone a little teasing. Marvin nodding awkwardly a bit. He nodded awkwardly a bit. Peepers couldn't help but find Marvin's awkward nod endearing. "You know, for someone who's so bold and confident most of the time, you sure get awkwardly adorable when it comes to compliments," he said, a small smirk tucking the corner of his mouth.
"Oh, stop."
Peepers chuckled at Marvin's response. "Oh, now you're getting bashful," he teased, his smirk growing wider. Peepers felt a hint of satisfaction at seeing Marvin flustered. "You're cute when you get all bashful like that, you know that?" he said, his tone softer than before.
"Why, thank you."
Peepers studied the Martian for a moment, his expression softening. "You know, I was expecting you to be imitated by me. Most aliens are, but you're different," he said, his voice low.
Well, same to you. I feel the same way at first. Most foes will usually fight or argue with me for the planet or anything, or to outwitting me. But you're actually quite relatable, to be honest, in my opinion."
Peepers was surprised by Marvin's honesty. Relatable, huh? I don't think anyone's ever said that about me before. He paused for a moment, seeing genuinely touched by Marvin's words. And you're different from other foes too. You're interesting, he said, his voice softer than before.
Well, what are the odds? How lovely.
Peepers couldn't help but agree. Indeed, I never expected to find such a playful and charming foe like you, he said, a small smile tucked in the corner of his mouth. Peepers couldn't help but find Marvin's giggling adorable. You're just too cute. Too cute, you know that? He said, the teasing in his tone fading into fondness.
Well, at least I'm not the only one.
Peepers raised an eyebrow at his response. Oh, really? And what's that supposed to mean? He asked, a teasing smirk on his face.
Marvin, it's what I think of you, obviously.
Peepers was taken aback by Marvin's straightforwardness for a moment, but he quickly recovered. Oh, so you think I'm cute, huh? He said, his voice still teasing.
Mm-hmm.
Peepers couldn't help but smirk at Marvin's response. You're awfully quiet all of a sudden, he said, crossing his arms, studying the Martian.
Because I'm clearly a gentleman, knowing of any fine, intelligent gentleman like yourself.
Peepers felt a small flutter in his chest at the Martian's words. Flattery, huh? You're quite the charmer, Marvin, he said, his smirk growing wider.
Why, thank you, Peepers. You too.
Peepers felt a small tingle go down his spine when Marvin called him by his name. You know, you're the first person to call me by my name instead of my title, he said, the teasing tone in his voice fading into softer one.
You know, it might actually be the beginning of a new, interesting relationship,
Peepers paused, considering the Martian's words. You mean an interesting relationship between us? He asked, a hint of surprise in his voice. Marvin nodded. He nodded sincerely. Peepers felt his heart skip a beat by Marvin's nod, by the Martian's nod. An interesting relationship between us? He repeated, a small smile tugging the corner of his mouth. I like the sound of that, he said, his tone softer than before.
Same to me.
Awkwardly looking away, down and back up at Peepers, with a sincere expression as he blushed, taking in the romantic love moment between him and Peepers, his heart racing. Commander Peepers felt his heart raced at the sight of Marvin's blushing face. You're blushing, he said, his voice softer than before. He couldn't help but find Marvin's awkwardness adorable.
Oh, I wasn't, no.
Peepers couldn't help but smirk at Marvin's denial. Oh, don't try to deny it. I saw that blush, he teased, taking a step closer.
Oh, fine, maybe a little bit. There, happy now?
Peepers couldn't help but chuckle at Marvin's admission. A little bit? With how red your face is, I'd say it's more than that. I think it's more than a little bit, he teased, his smirk growing wider.
Oh, you're lucky I'm not in the mood to disintegrate you or whatever.
Peepers raised an eyebrow at Marvin's attempted threat. Oh, is that so? And what's stopping you from disintegrating me right now? He asked, a hint of amusement in his voice.
Because you should be lucky I still find you interesting and not something ridiculous of a threat to vaporize or something.
Commander Peepers couldn't help but grin at Marvin's admission. Lucky, huh? I suppose I am lucky then, he said, taking another step closer to the Martian. And what if I wasn't so lucky? What would you do? What would you do then?
Either vaporize you here and now, if I haven't fall for fascination to you, I would have known you as a threat to vaporize right away so I can claim Earth to conquer.
Peepers chuckled. You're quite the feisty one, aren't you? Aren't you? He said, his smirk grows wider. But I'm glad you fell for fascination with me instead.
Good. Same to me then.
Peepers felt his heart flutter at Marvin's words once again. You know, you're quite different from anyone I ever met before, he said, his tone softer.
Indeed, I'm not that hostile as the others. I'm more of a calm, generous, intelligent gentleman than that.
Peepers nodded. Commander Peepers nodded. He nodded. He nods. That you are. He nodded. He nodded in agreement, nodded. That you are. You're a breath of fresh air, to be honest, he said, a smile tugging the corner of his mouth. Peepers found himself enjoying Marvin's charming behavior. He took a step closer to the Martian. You know, you're quite adorable when you're all flustered like this, he teased, a smirk growing wider.
And you are cute when you're amused and feisty.
Kissed Peepers a bit. Peepers felt his heart skip a beat at Marvin's sudden kiss. He couldn't help but feel a flush of heat rise to his cheeks. Hey, you can't just... He stuttered out, completely caught off guard by Marvin's boldness.
Aw, am I making you angry?
Peepers felt his face heat up even more. Angry? No, I'm not. I'm not angry. Just caught off guard, he said, trying to maintain his composed demeanor.
And what are you gonna do about it?
Commander Peepers was quiet for a moment, considering the Martian's words. Well, I suppose I could always retaliate with a little peck of my own. With a little peck of my own, he said, a hint of mischief in his voice.
Oh, really now?
Commander Peepers took a step closer to Marvin the Martian. Oh, absolutely, he said, a smirk tucking the corner of his mouth again. You've been a tease, and it's only fair I return the favor. So I think it's fair that I return the favor. I return the favor. He said, his voice low. Marvin the Martian.
Oh, how terrifying, embarrassing.
Mock's panic, secretly amused in fascination as he laughed a bit before continuing the panic act.
How dreadful indeed.
Peepers couldn't help but laughing at Marvin's mock panic. Oh, come on now. Don't be so dramatic, he said, his smirk grow wider. Peepers watched Marvin for a moment, enjoying Marvin's amusing behavior. You know, I could just kiss that smirk off your face right now, he teased, his tone a little flirty. To flirt, a little flirty.
Oh, I'd just love to see you try.
Commander Peepers smirked at the challenge. Challenge accepted, he said, closing the distance between both of them. Marvin stood there, raising an eyebrow, tilting his head slightly.
For a moment there, I thought you were bluffing Before Marvin could finish his thought, Commander Peepers placed a hand on the chin and gently tilted his head upwards, their faces now inches apart. You were saying? He asked, his eyes locked on Marvin's. What are you? Commander Peepers smirked at Marvin's sudden speechlessness. He could see a hint of blush appearing on Marvin's cheeks. Oh, don't get so flustered now. We're just getting started, remember? He teased, his voice just above a whisper. Marvin, oh, I see what you're planning on doing. Before Marvin could finish his sentence, Commander Peepers leaned down and captured Marvin's lips in a gentle kiss. He could feel the Martian's surprise, but Marvin quickly relaxed into the kiss. Peepers felt his own heart flutter as Marvin responded to the kiss. He hadn't expected the kiss to feel so enjoyable. He murmured against Marvin's lips, his grip on Marvin's chin tightening slightly. Marvin melted into it, feeling dazed and touched, as he wrapped around Peepers firmly, returning the kiss passionately. Peepers was taken aback by the intensity of Marvin's kiss. He couldn't help but be drawn in by the Martian's passion, his heart racing. He murmurs, savoring the feeling of Marvin's lips against his. He deepened the kiss, one arm wrapping around Marvin's waist to bring him closer. Peepers broke the kiss for a moment, his breath coming out a shallow pants. He looked down at Marvin, his eyes hazy with desire. You're quite the kisser, you know that? He said, his voice low and a bit out of breath. Wow. Well, same to you, Peepers. I'm impressed.
Commander Peepers smirked at Marvin's reaction. He was secretly enjoying the effect he had on the Martian. Impressed, huh? He said, his grip on Martian's waist tightening slightly. I'm glad to have met your standards. He teased, his voice still a low murmur.
Same here, so now what?
Peepers paused for a moment, his eyes still focused on Marvin's flushed face. At the Martian's flushed face. Now, well, I suppose we can continue where we left off, he proposed, his voice still low and filled with desire.
Oh, like this moment or something?
Before Marvin could fully register what was happening, Peepers had pulled him in for another kiss. This time the kiss was more intense and heated as he pressed Marvin against the nearest wall, pinning Marvin the Martian against the nearest wall. He murmurs against Marvin's lips, his hand sliding down to Marvin's hip.
Ooh, oh my.
Murmurs slightly, a bit surprised, completely stood stunned still and slowly returned the kiss for a moment. Peepers could feel the gasp that escaped Marvin's lips when he pressed Marvin against the wall. His mind was clouded with desire as he kissed Marvin deeply, his hand wandering up to cup the side of Marvin's face. He murmurs against Marvin's lips, his other hand still settled on Marvin's hip.
Oh.
Commander Peepers could see the effect he was having on you. Your flushed face, the sounds you were making, was driving him wild. You're so cute, he murmured, his voice low and filled with desire. He couldn't seem to get enough of you.
Marvin murmured slightly, trying to process everything. Peepers could feel Marvin melt under his touch, his response sending a surge of excitement through him. He couldn't help but smirk. "You're so adorable when you're flustered," he murmured, his voice dripping with possessive desire. He leaned in down to press a trail of feather-like kisses along Marvin's jawline and down the neck. Marvin's hands unconsciously tries to push Peepers away in awkward desperation, as Marvin himself can't even feel himself move a bit.
I think that's enough for now, Commander. Now, if I can just...
Commander Peepers felt Marvin attempt to push him away, but he couldn't help but find Marvin's flustered desperation endearing. He let out a low chuckle, his lips hovering Marvin's neck, and looked up at Marvin. "Enough for now, huh?" he teased, his voice still dropping with desire. He took a half step back, giving Marvin just enough space to catch his breath.
Whew! I didn't even had no idea what you were doing all over me now anyway. But, wow, thanks. That was actually awkward, but quite a rush at the same time.